We finally know that we are empty, right? That is the space of the void, of pure potential, and not in a nihilistic way, but in a extremely powerful, productive way. There's an incredible amount of forgiveness that is happening right now. I don't even need to tell you. I think you probably feel it. We've been trying to get here for so long. And even if we feel ourselves slipping back into past perspectives or past stories, it's very quickly that we pull ourselves out and say, hey, I actually don't feel like that's my truth anymore. Like, I'll honor that as part of my story, but I feel the space inside of me now. So the new moon, ruled by Saturn, balsamic conjunction to Neptune at the end of Pisces. The foundation that we are setting at this new moon is upon emptiness, and that's the most important point that I want to drive home. Anything you're able to do right now that will actually be sustainable and actually help you, deeply ironically, will be resting on emptiness, will be resting on nothingness, will be resting on infinite love, unconditional love, ultimate forgiveness for everything that you have held yourself back for, everything that you have judged yourself for. This is truly transcending that one person that you've held a grudge for. This is truly you forgiving yourself and finding that space within you and allowing all actions and all desires to emanate from that space of emptiness and forgiveness, non-expectation, non-attachment, infinite, unconditional love. That is the place that we must be acting from at this time. The hyper-personal part of this is the fact that we'll have the sun, the moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury all pass Pluto at the early degrees of Aquarius. Pluto is our deepest desire, individually and collectively. Pluto actually sits, from my perspective, below the emptiness that I just spoke to. Pluto is the baseline. This is coming from the paradigm of evolutionary astrology, where Pluto is the core motivating factor. And Pluto engenders everything else to exist. So right now, Pluto in Aquarius is the most important point to consider. And what is that? Pluto in Aquarius is the deep desire for objectivity, the deep desire to zoom out and see the logic, see the algorithm of life. And so we're at a stage right now where our deepest desire is to see reality as empty. Our deepest desire to gain neutrality, to gain objectivity, we're meeting that desire at the beginning of this lunar cycle. We're meeting that desire through using emptiness as a foundation for everything else that we are doing, using forgiveness as a foundation for everything else we are doing. And we're doing a lot of other things right now. Just because these big cycles are closing and this, far out motivation with Pluto and Aquarius, there's very deeply intimate and personal things going on right now. At the beginning of January, a few weeks before the new moon, we had the Venus, Mars, and Sun conjunction in Capricorn, which reset the purpose of our relationships, ending a very challenging 2-year relationship cycle that came before it. Okay? So when the same planets, Venus, Mars, Sun, Mercury, blah, 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 pass the planet Pluto, that relationship intention that started at the beginning of January gets tested by that core desire for objectivity. So these personal planets passing Pluto between January 19th to January 27th, we'll have Venus and then finally Mars within that chunk of time, all pass Pluto. And Pluto is asking that same question: is this relationship firstly founded on emptiness? And secondly, is that emptiness helping you to meet a core desire for objectivity right now? Okay? So that sounds, again, deeply impersonal, but when it comes to how we invest and have expectations in our intimate relationships, whether that be love relationships, business, friendships, there can be profound change and shock and having the rug pulled under us from what we thought. And there can also be incredible passion and incredible deepening in this time. You know, Pluto will go both ways. It will intensify and it will destroy. So that's the dynamic going on in this lunar cycle, especially as the moon is waxing to become full in the sign of Leo, nonetheless, on February 1st. Leo being that creative, fun, like playful, romantic, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to go into that reading just yet. But my point is this new moon in Capricorn, which is quite serious. I mean, we have had the Sun and Venus and Mars there, so there's an element of like active relational playfulness of our purpose. But through these 2 weeks, this cycle must be checked via your motivation, what the ground that you are leaning on to create the rest of your life, like it must be empty, okay? So that sounds like a lot, but note that this all changes again in February. It's truly the last month of relying on emptiness. And I think that we've learned the lesson. I think it's been very, very difficult for many of us to appreciate emptiness, to appreciate the cavernous nature of our being right now, and have that actually be the place from which we extend ourselves lovingly, right? But this last month is like putting our innermost intimate relationships to that same test in a very directed and very specific way. And to me, because this happens in that final month before the Saturn Neptune reset, it's almost as though we needed to go through this relationship fire in order to reset the system of how we make our dreams reality, which is a Saturn Neptune conjunction. And that restarts the process, the cycle of how we make our dreams reality, dreams, Neptune, reality, Saturn, in the sign of Aries for our own personal self, okay? The last Saturn-Neptune conjunction that happened 36 years ago coincided with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Fall, Neptune, wall, Saturn. And it was in the sign of Capricorn, which was about nations and states and the like civic society that we live in and the rules and the laws, right? And here we are having a new moon in the same sign of Capricorn, so it's definitely not as manifest as the Berlin Wall was, but we are on the precipice of like letting the Berlin Wall fall in our own body and allowing freedom to move through our every minutia moment. Like this is Aries. This is Aries. Aries is every move you make, every step you take, okay? And that's where we are resetting our capacity to make our dreams reality. Up until that point, February 20th, when this happens, we've been in a cycle of making our dreams reality through Capricorn, through practicality, through reality, through actual time progressing, because these are all Capricorn things. And that's the way we've had to do it. But when February comes, the way that we're going to do it is from our own will. And that change is huge. So in order to actually fully step into that, to me, it makes sense that we have to go through a deeply intimate, personal, emotional shift that happens at these moments where all these personal planets conjunct Pluto. And it's only after we go through that fire that we can really restart in February, the end of February. March will bring eclipses, April brings Aries season, and then Uranus moves back into Gemini, and we are truly off to the races. Okay? So it's cascading, but I truly believe this is the final month of like flip-flopping between our thinking. And so the resolution, the way to choose coherence in all of this is to be reminded of emptiness. I'm a big fan of A Course in Miracles. I do follow it and practice it in my life. And I think that system and that logic, if you don't know about it, just look it up. Even though all these planets will be shifting into Aries and will be in a very much different space of like using our personal will instead of using divine infinite consciousness and spaciousness and emptiness, I do think that the logic of infinite love, basically, that will be true forever. Like that is, I do think that that is the most ultimate truth. It probably won't continue to serve us in the same way it's serving us right now with these alignments, but just wanted to throw that in there, that all knowledge is timeless. And so we are in a period of great dissolving, and we're basically already dissolved, okay? Which also means that the seeds are being planted now. The seeds of the next cycle are being planted now. But again, we are going through this final relationship moment, this final personal, intimate moment where it's not about whatever your grand unified theory of consciousness and cosmology is. It's like, how do you actually show up when, like, to your partner, to someone you have a crush on, to your family, to people you are responsible to? Like, what's your emotional dynamic? If it's anything but faith, emptiness, unconditional love, then this Pluto stuff is going to really show you what needs to go, what will go, before you can really step into your own agency in world building next month. Okay? So that is what I have.